back to having to roll. We're still recording. So we had to split because we're talking for a long time. So we're just going to split this episode. So this is part 2 of the Saturday of E4 Empire LARP 2022. My name's Oliver. I'm here with Robin. So yeah, last time we left off, we were talking about possibly thinking about trying to start something where Dawn goes around. This is the early stage, the plan before the plan. Because I did speak to some people about this. So basically, our idea is, well, it's something that I think you're on board, aren't you? But it's definitely something.
I want to do this with you. I've already made
so I can say our, can't we? Yeah. So I was very after spending time with the marches, and the marches had gone round and done their wassail thing. Like, this is what we do for the Empire. The orcs had come round after that, being like, hey, this is our place in the Empire. We want to share this with you. Highguard had done it in winter. Navarre had kind of done it in spring. And I was like, we should be doing something like this because there's never a time where we all get together in a big group and we start just wandering around Anvil, we already touched on it for the start of the event being we don't have a thing where we all get together as one nation and go. The battlefield is the only time we ever muster as one nation and then head out.
I was going to say, actually, this is kind of actually confirms everything we've just spoken about. And that is, there is one time that we all got together as a nation.
Yeah, but it's I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
What you're going to say, right, when we're mustering? Are you going to say when we're
No, I was going to say the test of ardor. That we all got together as a nation for a test of ardor, which is kind of that sort of backs everything that we just said. At E1, the entire nation got together and they took a test of ardor through all the other nations. We went everywhere and we followed them back, and that included every single nation. And that was amazing, and it was beautiful. And the fact that we're talking about, bringing love to other nations, or the opportunity to share love, kind of piggybacks off of that, because you're that is the only time I remember us all getting together as a nation and going elsewhere. And that was for a test of ardor.
Yeah, no, that is a good
That was
point.
amazing.
Yeah, it's just because you want to do it seasonally so everyone knows it's going on. Also, you want the nation to be the focus, not a singular player, I guess, is my point. But I like that route of thinking though.
The thing is that's because you're talking about wanting to make it focus on that topic. And I'm well, actually that works in great, because the only time I remember, and again, we've only been there 4 events, but within those 4 events, the one time that we all went out was for a test of ardor, which is to prove love. So
well, I think this is maybe going to be, because I think I've got, even just talking about it now, this episode, last episode, I think I need to do the rest of it in character. I think I need to do. I'm going to send some letters to our egregore, or talk to our egregore, or egregores, should I say? Sorry, and yeah, maybe kick something off, because things like that, they take a while to catch fire, So it might just be at the flower festival, we'll walk around like the Navarre do at spring, and like I said, just take a load of flowers and be like, hey, this is what this is all about. You don't have to be in a Dornish house to give a red rose. This is Denarian. This is what happened when this Navarre gave a rose to a Dornish person. It is not exclusive to Dorne. We have flower codes in different houses, but we have our universal ones. These are red roses. They mean this. Feel free to take one to give it around, and we'll have basically a St. Valentine's Day in Anvil. That's what I'm thinking.
Also, the fact that there is this sort of universal red rose, but there's a lot of confusion around everything because every house has their own flower codes. You mentioned Marion there, so it's a good opportunity to say that he did not present a red rose. He presented something within the house's flower code to really get to know this person, which is pretty incredible, because
he did give a red rose, though, right?
No, he did not.
Oh, I thought she lost a. I thought she had lost a red rose on the battlefield.
That was something that we don't know about yet.
Oh. Well, I knew. Godric knows about it.
Oh, does he? Cool.
Yeah, because Denarin came to the Glory Square, and he told that story.
Oh.
Yeah. See, Godric was paying attention.
His Godric was paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like different sort of things with that. But yeah, the flower that he presented properly was part of her flower code, which I'm like, that's amazing. Yeah. It really is. But yes, I mean, like having that sort of universal, you know, well, we see the red rose means love, but you know, you might come and have a look and be like, well, actually, my love loves daffodils. So I will take this daffodil and present this because I know my love well, and I know that they would love this more.
It's basically else. Just giving an opportunity. It's like the Valentine's card thing, isn't it? Where it's just like they put a box of empty Valentine's cards out and be like, right, there you go, kids. You know, go at it.
Are we going to Mean Girls this and just be like, you know, have a little box at the front of Dawn, and people can come in and they can have their message in and be like, you know, we'll Mean Girls the entire thing.
No, I get what you, but that's what I'm saying. Like the Night of Flowers feels like that currently. It feels like if you want to send a message, it's like a private message service. What I would like to do is do a more public, like, hey, this is what we bring to Dawn. You know, I mean, really, what I would like to do, but I don't think it's feasible because everyone is like, it's just before time in, because Dawnish people are so martial as well, and it is, I would like to do it all in one. I would like to do like that type of thing before we all go out to battle, like as we are all in our clank, as we are all ready to go, as all our mages are ready, as all our troubadours are following it. I would like us to do like a circuit of the entirety of Amble before we go for the Sentinel Gate, but that's just, I know it's not feasible because it is just before time in. There is hardly any time. People are usually late anyway. Ideally, I would love that.
And half the nations are not going to be there. So...
Exactly. They're all off monstering. So that's what I would love. But it, you know, I mean, unless you can convince people to get all in their clank on the Friday and be like, do a go around and be like, oh yeah, here are the Knights of Dawn, here are the Nobles of Dawn, here are the Troubadours.
I think the Friday evening is.
Yeah.
I know it's difficult because obviously the Friday evening there's so much going on, especially with those who have hats, but there isn't a lot going on for those who are in the lower part of the game. So like literally seizing that opportunity to go around. I feel like the Saturday night tends to be the better one to do these sort of things, but seizing that opportunity to go around is maybe a good time.
Because we need, like, you know, also I've noticed that a few other nations, they have their things that are their strengths that are like a bit of a sales pitch for newer players on the field. And because there's people that will just come to, and it's totally fine. You come to Anvil for your first time, you join a nation, and then it's not really what you expect, and then you see another, or you just make friends in another nation. You're like, oh, actually, I'm going to join this one. That's obviously great. You need to be wherever you want to be. However, I've heard people being like, oh yeah, you know, people come to Songs and Stories for the first time, and they're like, oh, I want to be a Navari now. Or someone comes up to them and be like, hey, you know, you're a new player. Here's a load of coin. You know, it's free as long as you just come back and as long as you make money off it and pay me some interest. And then they start playing all this game with the freeborn, and they end up going, oh, I want to be in the Brass Coast. I feel like Dawn needs that like sale pitch moment where we go around and be like, yeah, we're the fucking Knights of Dawn. And we walk around and people will like look in awe, being like, so certain players, new players will be like, oh my God, aren't the Dawnish awesome? I want to be one of those. You might agree, or you might be like, oh, who are these idiots, you know? And I'll never be in Dawn. That's fine, but I feel like we almost need like that kind of sales pitch moment.
I think that the best way around this is to actually kind of like think to yourself, and maybe not exactly right now, but I guess this is for everybody listening. And I guess it's think to yourself, why did you join the nation that you've joined?
Yeah.
What was it about the nation? And like, for me personally, when I think of Dawn and why I joined Dawn, is I know that what I'm about to say is not actually on brief for Dawn, but I want to be a hero. I want to be this hero out on the battlefield in shiny clank that runs in and can be counted on by others. Glory is not the same as being heroic, but it kind of is sometimes. It's like the winter mark in Vikings. Like, kind of is.
Yeah, it's
I mean, there's a lot of glory there. There's, even if you're like, you know, we're not there to be heroes. I'm sorry, we run in full clank and we like freaking wipe a field is pretty freaking heroic.
Yeah, because I mean, people use that term a lot anyway for like certain types of media. They say they romanticize this warfare, but that's like, we're playing a fantasy game, and yeah, Dawn is very much aimed at that romanticizing of warfare, you know. So yeah, in very literal ways, how we, you know, we do romanticize everything in our nation. But anyway, let's segue into my continuation. So, because Aranel, you were very busy with watching Tests of Metal and doing your Knight Protector stuff and watching plays. I was busy doing my Test of Metal stuff. So to be fair, you did give me a little bit of a hand here. You were like, there's a troubadour, because basically I was collecting stories left, right, and center, but I hadn't got any ticked off. And you were like, oh, well, there's a troubadour right there. We bumped into Mercy, and I was like, right, Mercy, yeah, I've got stories. And Mercy took me over to his tent, and we sat down and we had some wine, and yeah. So I think I'd said in the Friday episode that, I had talked about this a lot in the E3 podcast episodes, that I went to a wedding in the Brass Coast because I was struggling with the Brass Coast and the League for Stories of True Love. Yeah. I had gone to a wedding and I had spoken to them, and I did some in-character mail with the people involved in that wedding. And I had got some amazing stuff back. Some very thorough story of true love. Now, this was all done on like an actual like instinct, because I went to the wedding. I did not know these people. I didn't know the people out of character, in character, or I just saw the wedding ceremony. I was like, there is definitely a good love story here. The story is a bit much to repeat here, and I haven't got that permission either. What I would like to do is actually get everyone's permission who we've got stories from and write all these down. That's what I would like to do. I actually have them all written down, but I would like to write them down as my character, and probably like publish them maybe together with Aranel or something.
Yeah,
in the game.
I would like to do that.
That would be awesome. But anyway, I told this story, and it was a story that I was actually confident that it would tick off two of the nations, because the Freeborn had written a song, because a lot of it was from the Freeborn's point of view, but these were two people that were in the religion side of the game as well. So I got to learn. I got a lot of insight into how the League saw loyalty as a virtue, and it was a big deal because they exchanged loyalty rings in the ceremony, which I heard is a very Leaguish thing to do. And the Brass Coaster had written a song about the Liga, and it was all about the mask, like the mask that the person wears. And if you remember what I was saying about the mask in the Brass Coast and Godric being confused by that, they had written this song in a way that it was like, oh yeah, the mask, and it was so metaphorical, and it like built upon what I'd learned from the egregore, you know, and how the Brass Coaster knew the Liga, and they knew all their masks. Yeah, the egregore had told Godric, oh yeah, we never show our true selves, we only show our masks, and these are all the different masks we wear. And then this song is about the Freeborn intimately knowing all the masks that the Liga wears, you know? I'm actually getting emotional talking about it. Yeah,
that's like really incredible.
Yeah, I'm actually getting emotional talking about it. Yeah. And it was beautiful. So I mean, that's only one part of the story. The story is beautiful. So you know, I had told Mercy, and yeah, I mean, I love role playing with Mercy. His phys rep is awesome as well, and is very understanding, because yeah, like that type of role play isn't like my strong suit. I'm better at like comedy role playing than emotional role playing, or like combat role playing. But yeah, I told the story, and it was so because I was getting emotional telling the story, and yeah, Mercy was so good because he was relaying a story that continuing a story that Aranel and Godric were invested in, but you know, Godric had already heard part of the story, and I was hearing revelations from Mercy's point of view as well on his journey through true love. And that was the really cool thing, is the fact that Godric had been going around trying to find these stories of true love, and it's like, oh, in the test, it's like almost like a rule set. It's like, oh, a troubadour has to confirm whether it's stories of true love or not. And it was so cool being like, that's a story of true love, but then Mercy as a troubadour was like, oh, I'm currently learning from my current story of true love, you know? So it just became this whole not black and white thing. And the story that I had gotten, one thing that it didn't have was an ending. So because these characters are still alive in the game, you know? And I said after the story, I was like, this story doesn't have a happy ending or a tragic ending. It's still going on. And that was the question of whether it would be a story of true love. And Mercy was like, well, I think this is definitely a story of true love. Definitely. Yeah. I will also say that he said that it was a way better story. Way better story than Aranel's, paraphrasing, but that's the gist of what he said.
Way better than my story.
But yeah, I was getting emotional because I was like, yeah, because I know how Godric saw the world beforehand, and when he's learning all these stories, and all these stories have, a lot of them have, well, every story has an ending. You know, there is a time where even the ones that end happily end in, I'm sorry if this goes morbid, and this is very like, this maybe goes a little bit highbrow and a bit Dornish, but yeah, all stories are about life and death, you know, all of them. It's about having and then loss. And yeah, Godric had realized that he is, even in hearing stories that were at the start of a love story, in the middle of a love story, towards the end, and stories that both parties had died, you know, people that he'd talked to, and he thought that he knew the truest of love stories, and he knew that it was Aranel and his was true Dornish love. And then he realized that he didn't have a Dornish love story with Aranel. He was just living as part of one. And yeah, Mercy's roleplay was just so freaking good. It was so, because he literally went like, because as I was like speaking my thoughts on this subject, he was like, you fear for Aranel's life on the battlefield. And I was like, yes. And I had quite a bit of bleed, because I think I had mentioned, I don't know whether it was the E1, I think it was the E1 podcast, when we were talking about being out on the battlefield, and I'm just like,
yeah,
it's difficult.
It was E1.
Yeah, I think
and E2.
Yeah,
and E3.
Because I think I said out of character. I'm like, yeah, you're my actual wife, and people are like, you're in a intense confrontational situation on the battlefield. So Godric and Aranel, Godric and Oliver are. I had a bit of bleed, because I was just like, yeah, I behave differently knowing Aranel is out there. And yeah, what went from this, like, me telling stories of true love, went from like this like big character revelation, because Godric's backstory is that he went to, I won't spoil this bit because I kind of want you to tell the story later on. But yeah, like, he wasn't with Aranel for a long time, and then when he was fighting, and now he used to fight in the Barrens, alone to prove himself. And it's only recently that he's been fighting alongside Aranel. And yeah, Mercy was like, well, you know, you need to, like, those people and those stories that you've collected shows you that true love isn't just, oh, you have a true love and then it's lost. You have a true love and they're always with you. Even when they're not around physically, they're always there. Even if it's an object that someone talks to their beloved through, even if they are on the other side of the world, even if you're talking them through the labyrinth, through some ritual, even if they're just a memory, they are always there. Even if they are both gone and they are just talked about in songs and stories, they're always with you. And that comforted Godric. What comforted him more was Mercy was like, well, would you feel better if I did a ritual for Aranel? And I was like, yeah, for tomorrow, because we knew we were fighting, and this was getting late as well, so we knew we were fighting the next day, and we knew it was going to be a tough one. And I was like, yeah, that would make a difference. One thing that didn't make a difference, he was like, yeah, if there's a miasma, get yourself anointed so you have a clear head. You know, it didn't matter because there wasn't actually a miasma. He was like, and if you can't, like, I want you to fight as if Aranel isn't there tomorrow. And I was like, okay, yeah. And then I came out and I came out with Mercy, and Mercy was like, Aranel, if you come to me tomorrow, I'll do a ritual. You were just like, okay. didn't ask what the ritual was. Didn't ask what was happening. You were just like, yeah, sure, awesome.
Patrick was there. It wasn't anything bad. Build trust.
But that was good because when we talk about like the next day, it makes it even more worth it.
It really did. Like the fact, I'm glad I didn't actually ask any more questions there. It would have been very Aranel to do so, because that made a difference. Yeah, and then jumping forward later that night, Mercy came up to Lupo and was just like, yeah, Godric's ticked off two more nations on the test of metal. So I got Highguard and I got the League and the Brass Coast, so that put the score at 4-3. And then it's probably back in time again, because earlier in the day we'd got invited to a wedding, which is cool, right? Yeah, so this takes us back to the wedding. So this kind of like timeline wise, once the orcs had like left, the wedding pretty much started right after that. So we got our seats and everything. We all like dragged a few benches out and things and sat down and got to watch a wedding, which was really, really exciting, actually, watching a full wedding and stuff. It
was house or Zell. I don't think they'd be worried about us saying the house, right?
Probably not. It was house or Zell. And we were there, we watched the wedding. As we were sitting there, you and I were there, and we were accompanied by we had House Motel, we had Sandra's, I had same kid with me as well, like sitting there with me as I was explaining to them what was happening. And yes, we watched this wedding, and it was really exciting, actually.
Also, there was tons of drama as well. That was so good. There was drama before it. Well, I was just going to say there was drama beforehand. I'm not going to tell the story because it's their story, but there was like tons of just like soap opera style drama leading up to the wedding that was happening as well. That was so good.
Yeah, there was, so within the people getting married, there was so much drama. Again, though, like it all happened in character. I don't want to go and say at all, because that's private to those people. But yes, the drama that everybody had created and was involved with running up to this wedding was incredible. The wedding itself was filled with love. It was filled with people stopping it and contesting parts of it.
I know.
Oh my God.
I loved it.
Role play.
It was so funny. Because it was a wedding in Dawn. It was just like, oh, does anyone have any reason why these two shouldn't be wed? And everyone was just like waiting for it. Like, yep. I would have been disappointed if there wasn't.
There they are. Yeah.
There was some really good like Disney villain stuff, wasn't there?
Oh, it was so good. And we were like sitting at the side, like eating popcorn. We're like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I can't believe this.
Everyone involved, if you're listening, like that's just our jam, like watching that type of stuff. I love it.
I had Lady Morgan next to me, and she was just like, honestly, like the role play with her during this, like she was just like, oh yes, knew this was going to happen, and like talking about it on. I'm like, uh-huh. And then like when it was happening, the kid in front of me was like, what's happening? And I was like, okay.
Let me explain.
This person was really interesting.
That's that person's cousin. That person,
I was like, this person's like that, and this person's like,
yeah, it's,
and they were
like
just
a soap
okay,
opera.
cool.
You just throw a load of ritual magic in there, and it gets crazy, right?
Yeah. But spoiler, went fine. Got married. And they had a wedding reception, and oh my gosh, honestly, the way they decorated everything, the tent, they had a full spread of food and drink and all this sort of like lovely atmosphere. It was, obviously, it's an actual wedding.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And we hung out, we drank and we ate. And then we got to enjoy lots of wonderful music for a while.
Yeah, it's music. Well, that's the thing. So they had got Rusty Compass to come and do a song for the ceremony, which is really cool. They did a song and they did like a parody with the with the words of the house. That was really fun. And then they were like, all right, well, we might be back. They were like, oh, Rusty Compass might be back later. And then we got to, because we're a little bit off with the timelines, aren't we? But by the time it had gotten dark, when I'd spoken to Mercy, and we came out and we went to like Wise Guys, didn't we? After that.
Oh, so there was lots of stuff before Wise Guys.
What? Really? Was
Oh,
there?
Yes. A lot of stuff before Wise Guys.
What happened before Wise Guys?
Because, well, also, while we're still at the wedding, yes, Rusty Compass were performing. There was also many other troubadours there performing from different stands. There was a lot of performances, and it was amazing. We actually ended up in the bar gathering stories, and this was before Wise Guys.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Did we go to the marchers before all of this? Did we go to the marchers again?
I went to the
marchers first.
Yeah, because I was following up on a lead.
Yeah, and I came with you.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I came with you to marchers. Yeah.
I eventually got to speak to the general. Oh wait, hang on. Whoa, hang on.
No, this was definitely now, because I remember what happened.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh no, it was. Yeah. So there was some drama in the Senate, right? So like we're going like higher up in the game now. There was some drama at Senate. So I don't really know the ins and outs, so I'm not going to explain it. Maybe we can get like a marcher on the podcast one day, and they'll explain it, maybe in the Long Dark or something.
That'd be good, actually.
Yeah, but basically, someone who a particular person that the marchers do not like at all had showed up to Senate, I think, with like a load of bodyguards. I think orc bodyguards as well. They weren't Imperial orcs. And one of the marcher generals, I think, did something crazy and jumped through a window or something. This is just what I'd heard. And they had been killed. And it was a general that was very much beloved. And that's what I was then hearing. Because when this general had died, and I had spoken to a few people on the way up to the marches, being like, oh, how's, because then people started to know me because I spent so much time in the marches as well. People started to recognize me, like, oh, how's your quest going? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's going this way, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, if you want to know about true marcher love, we really love this general. Maybe that's a story there for you, So when we went to the marches, it was a bit of a somber tone, it was like...
Well, we didn't realize that straight away.
No.
We spoke to a lot of people before that actually came out. We went and we spoke to 3 different groups of marchers before then. And we were chatting about love. This was way before we found this out. And we actually walked in on the aftermath of something. And to be honest, like, I wasn't too sure what had just happened. And we actually saw a display of love while we were there. And you went off to speak to someone for a little while.
Yeah, it was a general that I'd...
And then, and then that was...
For.
Yeah, and it was after that, you came to me, you were like, oh yeah, so like something's happened. I'm not too sure. And then we carried on walking, and went to speak to another group, and were there be like looking for stories of true love. Didn't realize Lupo was standing right there with the group. Yeah. And that's when everything came out at that point there, and we're just like,
yeah.
whoa.
So it was a bad time to get that story, but then from there we went to Navarre because So at this point, I think we should maybe come clean a bit and be like, our test of metal was because you already know from what we said on the Friday episode that Aranel had another test of metal.
Yeah.
We did out of character. Yeah, which I think is fine. We orchestrated it a bit, which is I think is fun because a lot of people do. It is a role play game. You want to play the game you want to play, and you have an idea of what your character wants to do. You know, if they're going to die, or if they're going to get into this part of the game, or you come up with things you want to do. We at no point like cheated in our test of metal or anything. It wasn't everything we did was in character. But yeah, we had an idea of what out of character how we wanted this to go. Yeah, we were like, okay, well, we know we're gonna have to like test into separate houses. We knew that we didn't want to hang about. I know Denarian was maybe like giving a shade, like, oh, that's how you do a test of metal, but really we weren't hanging about with this. Like we weren't like, because some people have their test of metal like over years, and some people have like told me, oh, I've just got my test of metal. I've been told it's going to take at least a year, at least. But we like in a summit and a half at this point, we were like almost getting there, the pair of us. So we wanted to spend time together. We were just like, you know what? We'll go over to Navarre. The marches are still to be ticked off. Navarre is still to be ticked off, and Dawn is still to be ticked off. So we were like, let's just go to Navarre and see what we can do. So we went to Songs and Stories, didn't we? We soaked in a bit of Songs and Stories. We had a few drinks. Do you want to tell the story from here, or?
Yeah, I mean, like round about this point here, yeah, we had a few drinks, we're hanging out with people, it's lovely, and then we actually did end up speaking to somebody. Now, I don't actually remember what led us to speaking to this particular person, to be honest, but we ended up speaking to them.
I was asking everyone. I was just like, stories true love? Stories true love?
But what it was then, yeah. So, we ended up speaking to this person, and they were like, yeah, we have a story of love. And they told us a absolutely beautiful story of true love.
It was, yeah.
Between someone from Navarre and someone from the Marches.
Yeah.
So it was the ideal story.
Yeah, we tweaked it a little bit because basically I was being told the story, and I was like, because out of character, I'm not very good at note taking at all, and I was just like, are you okay just to take notes? And you were like, yeah, you were just like listening to the story and taking notes.
Yeah, like, so basically they started telling the story, and like there's Aranel watching Godric, and he was like taking notes and stuff, and I was like, well, Joe, I'm just going to note this all down because I don't intend on me telling the story, but I can probably take it all down. So I took all the notes down for the story. We got all the information, had a wonderful evening there, had a few more drinks, and then headed back to Dawn.
I was pretty drunk at this point as well. That was the other thing.
I was really fucking drunk at this point.
Yeah.
So we headed back to Dawn, and we decided to head to Wise Guys at this point. So we went to Wise Guys to have a drink and ended up being met by House Mortaire. We had lots of drinks with them. They had,
House Mortaire. They came up with, they were like, oh, we're going off to do something else, or we're probably going to either go to bed, or we have to go and do this thing. And then from here on in, we kept like bumping into them. They didn't get very far at all, So we're off to this place, and then we bumped into the Wise Guys, and we were like, oh, hey.
And the rest will come in soon because we bumped into Wise Guys, and we had like a nice long chat, and we got like a lot of information. I had like a lot of really good role play here with one of the newer members of House Mortaire, which is really lovely. We played some games. They then moved on, and we stayed to finish our drink, listen to a troubadour who was performing within Wise Guys.
It wasn't a troubadour, it was a winter marker that was singing songs.
Yeah. There was
Yeah, troubadours are only in Dawn.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I thought troubadours were all over. I did not realize that. So,
well, I think that's the case because that's why I was like a March of Bard, because they're bards.
Oh,
a troubadour is Dawnish.
Well,
yeah.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know troubadours were only Dawnish. I didn't know that at all. I thought they were just like a nation. They were like.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Well, I guess I performed with them from Windmark was there performing, and they were that was like really interesting, and we were there watching, and then it was around this point they were like, we should probably like head back to tent. It's late, and we started heading out, and then I heard that familiar sound of the rusty compass.
To be fair, our tent is like across the Glory Square.
Yeah.
And
we don't go far.
We have to walk past the House Orzel tents. Like they're literally a diagonal from it. There's no way we were gonna miss what was going on there.
Yeah. So we headed over to House Orzel because Rusty Compass, of course, had come back to perform. And that was amazing. And when we're there, we bumped into House Mortar again. After all the wonderful, oh my gosh, interactions with Rusty Compass and everything. I don't think anything else really happened here before we went to the next party. Have I forgotten anything?
Not really. Yeah, we just sang because we know the Rusty Compass's songs now, and yeah, everyone was just singing. It was just I mean they're absolutely great, aren't they? And
oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, so we partied hard in next to the House Orzel tent, which is pretty much the Glory Square, partied right there, and then we just like stumble over and we're like, because when we're in Wise Guys, we're like, right, you ready for bed? Oh look, the Rusty Compass, because this was late. And then once we'd partied there, we were like, okay, now it's getting late, now we go to bed. And then our neighbors behind us, another house, was still going with their party. We're like, oh, we'll go around and say hi. We'll go around and say hi. But I'm in that drunken state, Anna, at this point. I'm just like, oh yeah, we'll just, because you're like, oh, can we go to bed? I'm like, nah, we'll just go around and say hi. And then we were there for so long.
Well, again, we walked there. We're like, hey, and we turned around, and there's more terrace there as well. I'm like, they're just ahead of us each time. And we sat down. We had lots of drinks. And this was when you went up to speak to somebody for quite a while. So you were away speaking to someone.
Yeah.
And I was there with Lupo. And as I was there, Mercy turned up. And that's when he confirmed your two stories that you told him earlier, or the one story of the two nations.
Yeah.
So at that point is when you had the three stories.
Off. So by Saturday, I had 3 stories.
Mm.
So it was 4-3. Yeah.
Yeah, because this took us to we were there until time out. And then we eventually staggered back to the tent. Honestly, I need to figure out a better way of getting all my stuff on and off, because the amount of work it takes to get my flower crown and antlers on, that's actually pretty quick. See, getting it off, I must rip half my hair out every time. If anyone's got any advice on that, that'd be bloody great.
You turn to me and you're like, you expect drunken Oliver to be, you're like, oh, can you cut these off? Can you cut this off of me?
I'm not going to use scissors anymore.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to give you these scissors. Now I want you to cut the bands and the thread that is the identical color to my hair without cutting my hair. And you're just like, no.
Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of the night, and we had some really good conversations and drinks. There. Do you want to have a little break?
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to just carry on all the way through Sunday?
Yeah.
And then have a stopping point here? I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
While we're in the flow. Cool. So we let's see. Yeah, well that's a good stopping point. So thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We're going to carry on in a 4th installment and talk about Sunday, because Sunday was a big one. Okay.
It was, yeah.
Right. See you later, bye. See you later, guys.
See you. Bye.
If you enjoyed this show, make sure that you follow and subscribe so you know when a new episode is posted. You can leave a review, you can share it around. It would really help us out, and we appreciate you doing that. And remember, you can catch us live on twitch.tv/2have_2roll. That's the number 2 and roll is into roleplay. Thank you very much for listening.